Scott, welcome to the second hour of Happening Now. The president touting the benefits, he says, of the massive health care law known as the Affordable Care Act. This comes just hours after Capitol Hill took action, trying to delay key provisions of the bill. The House voted to delay the employer mandate and the individual mandate. Moments ago, the president highlighted the financial benefits of his signature domestic legislation. Listen.
You're going to see competition in ways that we haven't seen before. Insurance companies will compete for your business. And in states that are working hard to make sure that this law delivers for their people, we're seeing is that consumers are getting a hint of how much money they're potentially going to save because of this law.
Joining us now, Karl Rove, former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President George W. Bush, also a Fox News contributor. Is the president telling the whole story there?
No, he's not. In fact, I thought it was interesting. He mentioned 3 states, California, Oregon, and Washington State. These are the estimated increases in the premiums for the individual market in those 3 states in a study conducted by the staffs of the House Education and Commerce Committee, the Senate Finance Committee, and the Senate Education and Labor Committee. So these 3 states, California between 42 and 61%, Oregon 27 and 55. Washington State has settled on what it thinks the average is, which is 39%. Take a look at a couple other states. Florida, the Florida insurance people say 61%. This is the state government. Georgia estimated between 61 and 100. Ohio 55 to 106. And my home state of Texas between 35 and 65% increase in premiums in the individual market. So the president, talked about New York. But New York's a special situation. There are only 2 states in the union, Vermont and New York, that are likely to see a decline. There may be 3 others that could see a decline. But in 45 states, the premiums are going up, and we're starting to get a handle on it, and it's going to be very, very big.
You heard the president draw some chuckles from an invited crowd there when he said, the Republicans voted against this again almost 40 times so far, and they really ought to be about the business of, doing the people's business and not just tilting at windmills. Essentially, that's what he had to say. Does that go to your point that Republicans, in your view, ought to do more than vote against this thing?
Well, it does, but it also points up another thing. There were a number of Democrats. I think 35 Democrats joined the Republicans in the House in voting to delay the individual mandate. The president gave a break to corporations. 35 Democrats joined with virtually every Republican to say, let's give the break to the little guy as well. And second of all, yes, the Republicans do need to lay out alternatives, but they also need to confront the president when he says things that are fundamentally misleading. For example, you heard him today tout the effect of sending out these checks, average roughly $100 to people who in some insurance companies are getting a rebate. Well, what he didn't tell people is those rebates are expected to dry up. Remember what those rebates are connected to. The new law says you have to spend, I believe it's 80, it may be 85% of what you receive in premiums. You have to spend that in payments to people for health care. The insurance companies are putting in the systems. It's a little ragged at first, but they'll get better with it over time. And when they keep hitting that limit and staying under it, those checks which went out this year are simply not going to be going out in the future. And the vast majority of people don't get a check because their insurance company was able to stay under the cap. So the president was touting a benefit that's likely to go away and isn't very big to begin with. $100 when the average, again, earlier we talked about this, the average premium has not gone down $2,500 as the president said it would. The average premium has risen from $13,770 when the law passed to $15,745 today. $2,000 increase for the average American family. And he's saying you're getting $100 back. Ain't it a great deal?
And that may be why the majority of the voters in our latest Fox News poll on the topic say they don't like Obamacare and don't really understand it either. Karl Rove,
that's right.
Good to have you on. Thanks.
Thanks, John.